So when you pour and polish, you use stuff kind of like this. This is just a roll lock disc, and this is like a kind of like a Dremel tool for an air for an air grinder. What I did here, or what I had done here, for this custom intake, because you can see that the runner is 3 inches long, and I want to have the inside edges in here rolled in so it kind of flows nice. So what I did here was I took one of these basically with this little chuck on it, 1/4 inch shaft, which goes into the grinder usually, but I took a 1/4 inch bolt and I actually tacked it, threaded it into one of these little basic couplers, and then tacked it to that. You can see it was like this, but that actually broke just as I was finishing up the inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something very similar on the outside here, or the side that goes into the motor, just to kind of help it kind of flow out, you know, so it's not just directly straight out. Give it a little bit of flow for less turbulence. So I'll do that now with this tool. Just a little bit helps, and then I will take this roll lock disc, because it's not modified, put on a new disc obviously, and smooth it out and flow it in. And then you just kind of make sure it's smooth to touch. Don't feel any machine surfaces kind of like sanding grit. You can see it, but you don't want to really feel it. So that's that. And then my intake will be done. I think it's pretty damn sweet. Started out as a drive shaft, ended up as something badass. And the face here has been surface planed. And these tubes have been cut. The hole was cut in this flat plate, and then the tubes are actually slid in. It was a tight fit, and then welded around on the back side. Okay, and then it was all surface planed. You can see if you look really close. Yeah, you can see it right there. You can see where that is. So that's a pretty damn good fit. The other side is where it's sealed, and it's all TIG welded. And if you look in here, you can see that it looks like it's all scratched up, but it's actually not. So that's the inside. Those are done, and that's that. Now I get to go finish that up, take it upstairs, or take it up to the house and wash it out real good, and then hit it with some acetone or brake cleaner or something and make sure it's good, and that's that. Now if you look real close, you can see that I have designed this so that the original injection lines from the P-pump can actually run through the intake runners on this intake. Now that saves me about $600, because each of these little injection lines, to order new ones that are unbent and bend them yourself, are about $100 a pop. So designing this the way I did allowed me to use the injection lines that came with the P-pump, saving me money, time, and effort. Now another thing that some of you Cummins gurus might notice is that there's only 5 intake runners instead of 6. I did that because to have them equally spaced and to be able to have these injection lines run through and fit in the proper spots, I could only equally space 5 of the runners. Now this isn't a true side draft style intake, because the plenum on the head, which is right in there, right there, this whole plenum here is all still there. Now I did that because I didn't want to send the head out to get machined, and for my power levels it's not necessary. So right here I'm going to explain to you why my intake is far superior to the original intake and elbow setup. So this right here is the original intake setup that came on the engine. You can see that this is the flange that bolts this plenum on the side of the head. The valve covers would be right here, all the way back, and this goes over to your charge pipe from your turbo. Now this is a first gen intake elbow, and you can see that it is a square design, and then it has this rounded edge here. This doesn't flow very well at all, and it's also very restrictive because of how small that is there. Now, for my intake, I use roll cage tube for the runners. This is 1 3/4 inch OD roll cage tube, 1/8 inch sidewall. So you can calculate obviously that the inside diameter of this is 1.5 inches. Okay, now the inside diameter of this original square intake, like I said, is 2 by 2. So to do area calculations and calculate volume, you just find the area of this, which is 2 times 2, obviously 4, and then you take 1.5 times, I think it's pi, I'm not really sure, I forget how to do the calculation of a circle, but you do that and then you multiply that times 5. Now, my calculations came out that my intake actually flows 2.2 times more air than this intake. This is 4 square inches, and my total inches on my 5 runners would be 2.2 times 4, which is 8.8. Okay, so this actually flows 2.2 times more air. So now this original intake elbow isn't bottlenecking or restricting my flow. Instead, the flow is going to be restricted back to the smallest point, which is going to be this turbo. So I'm working my way back, so that way I have, when I want to upgrade turbos here, I have the capacity and no bottlenecking effect anywhere up in here. All I have to do is switch out turbos, okay? So that really maximizes the effect of this intake over this restrictive elbow, and it also looks sweet. And it didn't cost me anything, and I also deleted the grid heater, which gives you a couple more horsepower because your air isn't having to flow through this little grid, and it's not kind of cutting up the air and causing turbulence. Now, this isn't going to be driven, this car isn't going to be driven in cold weather, so the fact that I deleted this is nothing. So if you're going to be driving your car under 50 degrees with the Cummins, you need this, theoretically, okay? But I won't. So here you can see I'm doing some painting. So I'll show you guys the process that I do for this patina work. So right here, this is the first coat. This is actually an epoxy primer on this, or not epoxy primer, self-etching primer. Okay, then what I did second was I took some of this gloss brown, and you can see this one's coated in gloss brown. And I actually ran out, so I only coated the spot that you're gonna see on there. And then third, I took and I coated it with a kind of off-white, like an ivory color. Yeah, ivory. Okay, so this is actually going to need one more coat of the ivory, and I'm making sure that these are fairly dry between coats. That way, when I sand off the white, it doesn't lift the brown, because if you kind of do them too close together, it'll actually lift the brown when you lift off the white. So that's kind of how I'm doing that. Put another coat of this on, and then I'll kind of start patinaing them and put on my final green, and then I'll do the final patina and clear over them with a semi-gloss or a matte clear. So this is one of those rat rods that's actually going to take probably longer to build, just because, I mean, you normally just put what, one color, you do primer and then a color, right? Well, this is actually going to have 4 different paints on it, plus the patina work and the clear. So you can't say rat rods don't have attention to detail. So I have quite a few things drying here that I painted and primed or whatever. Started painting the frame down in here too. And I got the front axle primed. This is just a Rust-Oleum brown primer that I'm using on all this stuff. And then I'm using etching primer on the forged pieces, like these bat wings. They're actually forged steel, so I'm using etching primer. Same with this, because I want to make sure that the paint adheres well because I'm not exactly sure the properties of forged steel. I actually did the same thing here. I started with the etching primer on the forged part of these axles first, and then I went over it all a few hours later with just a basic brown primer. So tomorrow, once that's dry, I'll finish painting that up. I'll finish patinaing out all this stuff, and then I can start assembling and start painting more stuff. Then I'm actually going to pull the motor and paint the inside of the frame rails, start cleaning up the motor, and paint some of the little detail stuff on the engine. So cool. So I got my wheels, and today I'm going to start cleaning them up and I'm going to paint them. I'm going to do a little secret that no one else knows about. So I'll show you guys when they're done. Wild-Torquey!